All right. Do I look hungover? Because I am. Something about this angle that I feel like the bookcase looks huge, even though you're literally seeing every edge of it. So, hi, my name is Hannah, by the way. If you are new here, welcome. If you are not new, welcome back. I've already forgotten what I was gonna say. Oh, okay. I'm going to be wrapping up the rest of the books that I read in February. I know it is halfway through April. It's fine. So I have 4 books that I'm going to talk about today, and hopefully I can get through them quickly. What time am I starting this? It's 2:45 p.m. I've been in bed. Okay. In the second half of February, I didn't have any new, like, all-time faves come out, but that's okay. I mostly liked all of these except one. So I'm hoping to finish my February books, and then in March I read 10 books, but I'm going to try to speed run all of those in one video. We'll see. The first book I'm going to be talking about today was The North Water by Ian McGuire. I listened to the audiobook on Libby. It is 1859, and there is a whaling ship that is going up to Antarctica to get some of that sweet, sweet whale oil. But it is, however, kind of at the end of the decline of the whaling industry. So for a lot of the guys on this ship, it's kind of like a one last job for them before they move on to not whaling anymore. Our main character is a man named Patrick, who has just come back from serving in the British military in India, and he is very haunted by what he saw and what he did while he was in India. So he takes a posting as the ship's surgeon, kind of intending to just lay low, collect a check, and then move on with his life. But while they're at sea, they discover that there has been a violent murder of a cabin boy on the ship. Going in, I kind of thought this would be more of like a whodunit, like there's been a murder on the ship, it has to have been one of the people on the ship. I thought it would kind of just be like pointing fingers, psychological drama there. But you as the reader basically know from the very first scene of the book, from the jump, who done it. So it's not really a who done it because we know. I will say I picked this up because of the recent AMC Plus series starring Jack O'Connell and Colin Farrell, but this was really good. Like, I was kind of taken aback at how well done this was. Even though it wasn't a whodunit like I thought it would be, at no point could I tell what was going to happen next. And it becomes this like historical thriller come survival story, because there is a significant amount of the book that they are not actually on the ship. They go outside of the ship. I won't say too much, obviously, because there is, you know, it is a thriller, and the timing and method of plot reveals is very important, obviously. But yeah, I will just say I was really impressed. I was really engrossed. I'm surprised at how much I like this book. I have not watched the show yet because I thought it was just a normal AMC show. Ends up it is AMC Plus, which is a streaming service that I don't currently have. So does anyone have that? And can I have your login? Thank you. The second book I'm talking about today is I Don't Know What You Know Me From, Confessions of a Co-Star by Judy Greer. I listened to the audiobook on Libby, which was read by the author. Yeah, so it's basically what it says. It's what the title is. It's a memoir by the actress Judy Greer, who her bailiwick is kind of playing supporting roles, famously in a lot of rom-coms in the 2010s and 2000s. The 2 roles I know her most from, or like knew her first from, are in 13 Going on 30 and 27 Dresses. Years ago, I was on a real kick of reading memoirs by comedians and comedic actors. Quality-wise, mileage varies pretty significantly, but they're usually at least interesting. You learn something. They're illuminating. So I've known for a while that Judy Greer had written a book, and she's always had a really fascinating career to me. I think character actors are super interesting and like almost like mercenary. They're very, very cool to me. And Judy Greer in this book comes off as like a very friendly, normal, down-to-earth person, which is not always the case in these like character actor memoirs. And that is kind of the problem with this book, is that she is so normal and she is so stars, they're just like us, that it makes this book pretty boring, honestly. So it's broken up into thirds. So it's her early life, her career, and now her like current life. The early life section has some really sweet parts. She talks about growing up near Detroit and how much like love she has for that city. And then when it moves to her career, that's the part I was kind of most interested about. And I do wish more of the book would have been about her career, but even that, it's very like, it's too peaceful to be interesting, honestly. So it's like she auditioned for one acting conservatory kind of on a whim. She got in, she did okay in school. She was discovered right before she finished acting school, and she's had like a sustainably successful career ever since then. And you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's it. The part about her adult life is also, again, it's too nice to be interesting, which I feel so bad saying that, but that's the God's honest truth. Like, she adores her husband, she adores her stepkids. She has some really interesting parts about being a stepmom and like co-parenting and like that whole lifestyle. That was pretty interesting, actually. I liked reading about that. Yeah, I just kind of feel bad that I was let down by a book because the author is like a nice, normal lady who had a good childhood and a happy home life and a good career. I feel bad, but it's just like, oh, maybe I just shouldn't have read this. It's like, how dare you have a good home life? Ugh. Then I read Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, and I listened to the audiobook on Hoopla. So a couple of years ago, I read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, and I did not care for it at all, really. I thought it was just this very average, very run-of-the-mill thriller that just had this layer of like gratuitous grossness to it that did nothing for me. So I didn't really have any intention of reading any more Karen Slaughter books at all. But then I saw the words Toni Collette Netflix miniseries, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll read it. So there's this woman named Andy. She's at like a dead-end job. She's living with her mom. She's just kind of like bopping along in life. One day she is at the mall getting lunch with her mom, and there is a shooting at the mall, and Andy's mom goes like Jason Bourne mode and takes the shooter down. And then a bunch of other stuff happens kind of in the same realm. Eventually Andy's like, there is obviously something about my mom that I don't know, that she has not told me. And it spirals from there. So I'm not gonna lie, I went into this with a pretty closed mind because of my experience with Pretty Girls. But it was all right. This book was all right. It was pretty unpredictable, which I really liked, but there were also parts that I just found deeply annoying, mostly Andy. I think she's a very difficult main character to get behind. So this woman is supposed to be like 30, but she is like kind of dumb. She is like super oblivious and super naive to the point where it's like she's making stupid decisions that no like adult would make, and it's just not fun to read that at all. It's not compelling. That I'm more annoyed by the main character than worried about her. All in all, it was fine. I liked it better than Pretty Girls, which is good, but I like a lot of books better than Pretty Girls. And then I watched the Netflix show, and I also didn't like that. So it was kind of a end-to-end exercise in futility. But we all learned something. We all learned a lesson. Don't read Karen Slaughter books. It was also reading this book. I had just finished it, and I realized that I had, for the first 2 months of the year, accidentally completed the first 2 challenges of the Buzzwordathon, created by Books and Lala. There's a challenge where each month of the year there's like a new buzzword or prompt or phrase that's commonly found in book titles, and you basically just read a book that fits that. So the prompt for January was who, what, when, where, why books, if that makes sense. And I had read The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon in January. Then in February it was pronouns and possessive pronouns, so I read Pieces of Her. So yeah, since I had incidentally done the first 2 months, I'm gonna try to continue in that reading challenge every month this year. So I've already done March's, and I just finished April's, so we're doing okay on that challenge. All right, and now The final book that I read in February was The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. I read the e-arc on NetGalley, as it was self-published and is now formally published by Tor, I believe. So in case you somehow have not been told about this book by someone yet, there are these 6 like really talented magician people. There's 6 of them, and they're given the opportunity to join the Alexandrian Society, where they get access to these vast archives of the Library of Alexandria, you know? So it's like the Library of Alexandria didn't actually burn or something. I forget exactly. But they'll get all these crazy opportunities, and they'll be the most powerful people on Earth. However, only 5 of them will get in of the 6, so they're competing against each other. This book is huge, huge, huge on TikTok. It's kind of waned a little bit. It was like at its apex of popularity a couple months ago, but it's now formally published, and it was like one of the most successful self-published books in ever. But now it's traditionally published. I don't know how to feel about this book. I think I liked it, but I can't really tell. There is so much about this book that was like really impressive, like truly impressive. It's so like structurally sound, I guess. The magic system was very, very cool. I really like the magic system. A lot of the time it's almost like particle physics, and it's just like so coherent and so thought through in a way that a lot of fantasy just kind of doesn't care to bother with. But I really, really liked that. Also, the way the book is broken into like sections, I guess, that are labeled like truth, time, intent, like kind of these really broad ideas that are the lessons that the candidates for the society are learning. I really liked how what they were learning really mirrored what was going on in the plot and with the characters and their relationships. I thought that was a very impressive trick to pull off, is having these 2 kind of concurrent things going on. The characters were also pretty interesting. I really liked their powers and like their relationships with each other, and their like power play with each other are all super interesting. But for some reason, I just could not fully buy into this book. And a big part of that was the order itself. You are asking the reader to take a very big leap with you, based in my memory, almost solely off of like, these are the best people at what they do. They are incredibly talented magicians. They are very promising in their fields. They all have incredible powers, but they're all going to be willing to gamble it, their whole futures, on this internship, basically, that no one has heard of. And we're just told because they'll be very successful and powerful. We're just told that, but we don't really ever see that. Like, we're told this is an incredible opportunity that these very driven, very successful people would literally kill for. Take my word for it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that on its own is not like a huge, huge problem, but when everything else in the book is so explained and so justified, that really key component just kind of being like, take my word for it, it feels like there's something missing there to me. And in the same way, sometimes the characters whose personalities and motivations are all so clear and so well explained and so plainly laid out, sometimes their behaviors and their decisions didn't really match that. It just felt like the plot necessitates that these 2 characters are now fighting. So now they are fighting. And I'm like, oh, okay. So overall, I did really like it. And I will be very interested to read the sequel. Because even when I was rolling my eyes at some of the prose and I thought some of it was kind of dorky, it was still, like I said, overall very impressive. I'm also curious if anyone knows like editorial changes between the self-published edition and the Tor published edition. I'd just be very curious to see that and how that looked. I think I also saw that Atlas 6 is being developed into a TV show with Amazon, I believe. So again, that could be years down the line, but who knows. And that is it for my February books. Thank you for watching. And thank you for sticking around with my very sporadic uploading as I settle into my new work schedule still. I'm very curious to hear opinions about the Atlas 6 because I feel like everyone who has read it is either like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life, or this is blisteringly stupid and I hated it. And I land kind of in between those two camps. So, what did you think? What are we saying? What are we thinking? What are we doing? Yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.